And welcome back. My first guest was forced into the brutal sex trafficking trade in Las Vegas. But after 6 years, she escaped and then committed herself to help rescue other victims. Her incredible story is entitled In Pursuit of Love, one woman's journey from trafficked to triumphant. Would you please welcome a remarkable person with an incredible story, Rebecca Binder. Rebecca, thank you for coming. Delighted to have you. I'm always amazed how people are first drawn into human trafficking, because I think sometimes we think it's some 14-year-old from the Orient, that gets picked up and shipped to the United States. You grew up playing varsity sports. You were an honor student. How in the world did a kid like you end up getting part of the sex trafficking business?
Yeah, you're right. We all have these misconceptions about human trafficking to be stranger danger and kidnapped children locked in rooms. But in our country, that doesn't sell, right? Sexy sells. And so what happens is traffickers take a lot of time to groom and manipulate, and they're playing a long con game to get to know their victims, and then they force them into the world of commercial sex.
In your case, it was a boyfriend.
Yeah,
he pretended he was.
Yeah, exactly. He pretended to be my boyfriend. I was a single mom, young 19-year-old mom trying to put myself through school, and he had all the answers. He was ambitious, and he had all these dreams to help get me out of this small town, and I thought finally maybe the tables had turned for me, and I fell in love. I didn't know the whole time he was a con artist. Traffickers purposefully target vulnerable populations. And in my case, I was the girl on campus with a kid. And I found out many years later that he actually gave his phone number or took phone numbers to lots of girls on campus that seemed maybe vulnerable or at risk. But it's the ones that he seems to get his hook in that he keeps continually grooming.
Did you not see warning signs? And I guess the reason I'm asking is for all those other kids out there that might be the target of a predator. What should they look for? And what did you miss in this guy?
Frequent trips out of town, a gradual expansion of my boundaries, seclusion from family and friends. I think in healthy relationships, our circles should double, right? You're getting to know each other's friends and family. But in very dangerous relationships, your circles become smaller and you become more isolated. And my family started seeing signs, and they thought, what's going on? No small town family thinks human trafficking. They thought, is she in domestic violence? Is she a stripper? What's going on? Something's not right. And eventually my mom started calling 911, and they would say, I'm sorry, ma'am, without an address, there's nothing we can do. And she said, that's part of the problem, is I don't even know their address. My daughter and my granddaughter are missing.
You were in Las Vegas 6 years. Finally, a federal raid at the place where you were freed you, let you go. Since that time, you've started reaching out to other women and trying to help them. You've trained 100,000 plus law enforcement, emergency room personnel, FBI, Homeland Security people. That's a pretty big give back. What made you want to give back of yourself to help in those ways?
I can remember sitting in my living room or my kitchen at the table, and I can remember the sun coming up and feeling kind of sick to my stomach and thinking, time to go in. And I remember the voice of God saying to me, how can you sit here and do nothing? How can you sit here in your nice comfy house with your warm cup of coffee when you know what it's like to be more afraid to go home? I first just started sharing my story, just wanting to kind of sound the alarm, and it grew rapidly, and I've been so thankful to be able to train so many law enforcement officers, vice cops, work cases.
Rebecca, how did you manage the reentry from the life of being a sex slave and essentially being a piece of property for somebody to now having a wonderful husband, 4 daughters, a pretty nice life, other than when you go out there and have to relive it by teaching people what to look for? How was the reentry accomplished for you?
I mean, it was really hard, of course. I think anytime someone tries to completely change their life, it's not easy. It's not this, fairy godmother moment where it's bibbity bobbity boo and you're out. When the feds raided one of the homes, it took 9 more months after that till I was finally able to run. And it was me packing up my daughter in the middle of the day and grabbing her and jumping on a plane. And that's why part of me went back to train law enforcement, because they needed to know I felt like if they knew what was really going on, that they would help. And for just so long, I think cops didn't know, and they just thought, oh, criminal prostitutes. And they didn't really look behind what may be going on behind closed doors.
You've written this book called In Pursuit of Love. Why the title?
I was a girl who pursued love in all the wrong places. I was an average all-American girl, but I still had vulnerabilities. Even kids from good homes still have vulnerabilities. And that led me to eventually a place where bad guys pursued me, and I didn't know it. But through it all, God continued to tap on my shoulder and try to get my attention. And so kind of finally at the end, I ran and left everything and technically chose homelessness with an 8-year-old little girl because I wanted to know why I lived when others had died. And so we titled it Pursuit, and it expanded to Pursuit of Love because it encompasses so much of all of that spectrum.
You know, it's a beautiful story because of the way it ended, but sadly, there are many women in this country and many young girls and adolescents for whom this is not ending well. What's your message to them, Rebecca?
Beyond just being a girl's issue, there's a demand for sex in our country that is raising up this kind of demand. So we have to teach our sons to honor, protect, defend, not objectify and exploit. And we have to teach our young girls that there is community and there is belonging and they are worthy far beyond just their looks or what social media likes they get. I think it's about really helping the next generation do something better than we've done.
That's a beautiful reminder that it's also about the guys learning to honor and respect and treat women as persons and not objects. What a wonderful reminder of that. And I tell you, I hope people will get the book, especially if you're a father or a mother of a daughter. And even if you're father or mother of a son, but especially of a daughter, to learn how to protect your own daughter or your granddaughter. The book is called In Pursuit of Love. It's available at Amazon. You can also find the book and learn how you can invite Rebecca to come speak to your group. That's at her website, RebeccaBender.org. Follow her on Instagram at I Am Rebecca. That's for I'm Rebecca Bender.